All right, folks, let's talk business. Don't worry, we'll try to make it as painless as possible. Now, understanding this whole business thing is kind of a big deal. Why? Because whether you realize it or not, business is lurking around every corner. It's in the coffee you buy, hopefully fair trade, but that's a topic for another time. The clothes you wear, fast fashion anyone, and even the apps on your phone, designed to be addictive, but I digress. The point is, business is everywhere, and it's shaping the world we live in, for better or for worse. So if we want to navigate this crazy thing called life, it helps to understand the basic rules of the game. Think of it this way. If you were suddenly dropped into the middle of a football game, you'd at least want to know what a touchdown is, right? Well, consider this your crash course in Business 101. We'll cover the basics, decode the jargon, and hopefully have a few laughs along the way. Because let's be honest, if you can't laugh at the absurdity of the business world, you're probably not paying close enough attention. Buckle up, buttercups. It's about to get real, and by real, we mean hilariously confusing. So what exactly is a business, you ask? It's a great question, mostly because it's the one question I actually know the answer to. In the simplest terms, a business is basically an organization that provides goods or services to people. That's us, the unsuspecting consumers, in exchange for, you guessed it, money. Think of it like a trade, but instead of bartering your prized collection of Beanie Babies for a slightly used scooter, we use this thing called currency. Now, businesses come in all shapes and sizes, from your local mum-and-pop shop to giant corporations that have more lawyers than some small countries have citizens. But at their core, they're all doing the same thing, trying to convince you that you absolutely need their product or service. Whether it's a life-changing gadget, a delicious meal, or a service that promises to organize your sock drawer, businesses are masters of persuasion. They're like that friend who can convince you to do anything, even if it means staying out past your bedtime or trying that questionable street food. The only difference is, instead of your sanity, they're after your hard-earned cash. But hey, that's business, baby. Now, businesses aren't just random entities floating around in the ether. They have characteristics like that weird uncle who always wears socks with sandals. These characteristics help us identify them and understand how they operate in their natural habitat, which is usually a boardroom or a Zoom meeting. First off, businesses are all about economic activity. They're buying, selling, producing, and distributing goods and services like it's nobody's business, pun intended. They're like the busy bees of the economic world, constantly buzzing around, pollinating the market with their products and services. Second, businesses are goal-oriented. They're not just in it for the fun of it, although let's be real, some entrepreneurs do seem to be having a blast. No, they have objectives, targets, and bottom lines to meet. Think of it like a game of darts, except instead of aiming for the bullseye, they're aiming for profitability, market share, and world domination. Okay, maybe not always world domination, but a business can dream, right? Third, businesses thrive on risk and uncertainty. It's like walking a tightrope while juggling chainsaws and trying to solve a Rubik's Cube. Risky, unpredictable, and slightly terrifying, but hey, no risk, no reward, right? And finally, businesses are dynamic and constantly evolving. They have to adapt to changing market conditions, consumer preferences, and the occasional global pandemic, thanks 2020. They're like chameleons, constantly changing their colors to blend in with their surroundings. So there you have it, the key characteristics of a business. They're economic powerhouses, goal-oriented machines, risk-taking daredevils, and ever-evolving chameleons. What's not to love? Section 4, what's the point? Business objectives. All right, we've established that businesses are like the overachievers of the world, constantly striving for something. But what exactly are they striving for? What's the point of all this buying, selling, and risk-taking? Well, my friends, businesses have objectives, those big, hairy, audacious goals that keep them up at night, or at least they should. And these objectives can be neatly categorized into three main areas: economic, human, and national. Let's break it down, shall we? First up, the economic objectives. This is the bread and butter of business, the reason they exist in the first place, to make money. Profit is the lifeblood of a business, the fuel that keeps the engine running. Without it, businesses would grind to a halt like a car running on fumes. But it's not just about making a quick buck. Businesses also need to be sustainable, meaning they need to make enough money to stay afloat in the long run. Think of it like a marathon, not a sprint. Next, we have the human objectives. Businesses aren't just about numbers and spreadsheets, although those are important too. They're also about people, the employees who make the magic happen, the customers who buy the products, and the communities where they operate. Businesses have a responsibility to create a positive work environment for their employees, one that fosters growth, development, and maybe even the occasional office pizza party. They also need to treat their customers with respect, providing them with quality products and services that don't make them want to scream into the void. And finally, businesses have a role to play in the national objectives of their respective countries. This includes contributing to economic growth, creating jobs, and generally making the world a better place, or at least not actively making it worse. So, there you have it. The three pillars of business objectives: economic, human, and national. It's like a three-legged stool. You need all three for it to stand strong and proud. Section 5. Being a good business, not just a rich business. Now, just because businesses are laser-focused on making money doesn't mean they get a free pass to be jerks about it. In fact, there's a growing movement towards businesses being more socially responsible. This means taking into account the ethical and environmental impact of their actions, and not just focusing on the bottom line. Think of it like this. If a business is a guest in your home, you'd expect them to clean up after themselves, right? Well, the same goes for the planet and society as a whole. Businesses need to be good corporate citizens, not just profit-hungry machines. So what does social responsibility look like in action? Well, it could be anything from reducing their carbon footprint to supporting local charities to treating their employees fairly. It's about doing the right thing even when no one is watching, although let's be real, in the age of social media, someone is always watching. Now, some companies might try to greenwash their image, slapping a sustainable label on their products without actually changing their practices. But the real ones, the ones who are truly committed to social responsibility, are out there making a difference. They're the ones who understand that doing good and doing well aren't mutually exclusive. In fact, they often go hand in hand. Because let's face it, no one wants to support a company that's exploiting its workers or polluting the environment. We're smarter than that, right? Section 6, Professions, Employment and Businesses. Oh my. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from the definition of business to its objectives to its social responsibilities. But before we wrap things up, let's take a quick detour into the wonderful world of economic activities. Because guess what? Business is just one type of economic activity, albeit a very important one. There are actually three main categories of economic activities: professions, employment, and businesses. Think of them as the three musketeers of the economic world, all for one and one for all, except when it comes to profits, then it's every musketeer for themselves. First up, we have professions. These are occupations that require specialized knowledge, skills, and training. We're talking doctors, lawyers, accountants, the people you call when you need expert advice or when you're in trouble with the law. Professions are all about using your brain power to solve problems and provide services. They're like the Sherlock Holmes of the economic world, using their deductive reasoning and specialized skills to crack the case, or at least balance your checkbook. Next, we have employment. This is what most of us are familiar with, working for someone else in exchange for a paycheck. It's the classic employee-employer relationship, the backbone of the modern economy. Employment can encompass a wide range of jobs, from blue-collar to white-collar, from entry-level to executive. The key difference here is that you're working for someone else's business, not your own. You're like a cog in the machine, albeit an important one, hopefully. And finally, we have businesses, which we've already spent a considerable amount of time discussing. Businesses are all about creating and exchanging goods and services for profit. They're the entrepreneurs, the innovators, the risk-takers who drive economic growth and keep the world interesting. So there you have it, the three musketeers of economic activities, professions, employment, and businesses. Each one plays a crucial role in the economy, and each one offers its own unique set of challenges and rewards.